Hello and welcome to HT Movie Talk. I am your one and only host, Dean Speens, and I'm joined by a very special guest this week. His name's Harlan, but you might know him as Fluffy Duffy. Hello.
Hello.
Well,
It's an honor to be on this podcast for the first time.
thank you for
Um,
coming on.
yeah, I didn't really understand why you wanted me to come on, but I'm honored either way
Yeah.
because we're not talking about movies today, are we?
No, we're not talking about movies because if you've listened to this podcast recently, you know we ain't doing that stuff right now.
It's
We
true.
what do you want to
I don't
say?
know why. No, my camera keeps going in and out of focus. I don't know what's going on.
I'm just going to keep talking while you sort this out because I don't believe in distractions. Uh, no, we're
Oh
doing.
wait, Dean,
Yeah.
you're a liar.
Why am I a
You
liar?
said you don't believe in distractions, and then I just distracted you.
Oh, now I can't even edit out you changing your camera because I have to keep that great little joke in.
Yeah, that was pretty good. High five. Thanks.
Anyway, we're here to talk about a comic book um
Yes.
this week. So this podcast isn't called H2 Movie Talk. I feel like starting again, like genuinely, but I won't.
I don't think you should.
You don't think I should? No, I'm not going to
No,
because I've never done that, and I threaten to do it so often. But we're here doing a HD comic talk.
that's such a great name. Who
What are
came
we
up with that
talking about
idea?
today?
We are talking about The Last Ronin. Dean,
Yeah.
go ahead, show your copy of the book. You were ready for that. You were prepared. You're
Yeah,
prepared for me to do that little bit.
yeah. I had to get it digitally because so basically I've been away this week and I was like, I'll read it while I'm away. And then I looked at getting it or ordering it online and it wouldn't have come in time for me to leave. So I was like, okay, I'll just get the digital version. I bought the digital version, I leave, and then the first day I'm away, I see it in a store and I'm like, oh, I could have just waited.
I had to buy the hardcover. I've been a little ill
Mm-hmm.
this the past week or so, so I made my roommate get it while he got once he got off work after like his 8 hour shift. I texted him like, "Can you stop by the comic store for me?"
Nice.
He got it.
Nice. See, that's the thing. If I was in the city I'm usually in right now, I would so be buying that in a shop instead of ordering it. But I'm not, and that's a different conversation. Harlan, can you please just tell me about your history with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I grew up watching the animated TV show, the
Mm-hmm.
specials. I never really was much of a comic reader growing up, but
Or
I
now?
still consumed.
Loser, you can't read.
I can so read. I read this entire thing in one sitting.
Wow.
Actually, that's a lie.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Anyways,
so continue. How many sittings? Or
two.
were you
Because
standing?
yeah. I was like, I gotta mix this up. No, I was read it and then I was like, oh, I should make dinner. So I put it down and then I made dinner and then I picked it up again.
What did you have for dinner?
Last night,
It was so good.
yeah, I don't remember what I had for dinner.
Was it classic meat pasta?
Yeah.
You know, I was in America for like over a week, and the entire time I was there, Harlan was a great host. He let me sleep in his bed, both beds he owns. It was a great time. But he cooked me one meal the entire time we were there, and it was pasta with this sauce called classic meat. And the reason I remember that is because we kept making the joke, oh, when your friend meets, there's something funny. Classic meat. And then we looked at the jar of pasta sauce and it had less than 1% meat in or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not a great cook. Well, I'm I'm not an experienced cook. I'll put it
Mm.
that way.
At the end of the day, that pasta tasted good.
It was fine. It
Yeah,
was it made me I was hungry and then I ate it and then I wasn't hungry, which is the
that's all.
point of
That's all you
food.
need. That's all you need. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja. Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I forgot what animals they were. Um, I the first Teenage Mutant Ninja thing I'd ever like fully interacted with was Mutant Mayhem last month when I went to watch that. And like the thing is, like I was thinking about this while I was reading this. I know a lot about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I'm sure you would feel about a lot of nerdy things just because you're in those circles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I know Leonardo's the leader and Splinter is, the sensei and blah blah blah. Like I know all these things about them. So it wasn't like I was lost because this is quite like in some ways quite a referential book.
Yeah, you need to know who um Shredder is to kind of
Yeah.
understand that. You need to understand Splinter, the April, Casey. You need to know all these characters because it really doesn't um it's not forgiving in that sense.
No, and I didn't struggle with that though, because like it's nothing there's like if there were any real deep cuts, you didn't need to know about it to understand what was going on.
I think the deepest cut is the whole arc with the robot.
Oh, Baxter. Stock.
It's not
Oh, Honeycutt.
Stockman. Yeah, Honeycutt. If I'm correct,
Mm-hmm.
the two creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they thought about the idea of the turtles while they were essentially procrastinating a drawing for a comic book,
Mm-hmm.
like super late at night,
Yeah,
and that Honeycutt droid was the comic book they were putting off. So it's kind of cool that those are
it's cool.
intertwined in the same universe.
That is cool actually. So, what? Just give me the brief rundown of what this comic book is about, if our listeners don't know.
So The Last Ronin is a comic book that's set in the future of the TMNT storyline,
Mm-hmm.
where Michelangelo is the last one alive, and he is kind of um overwhelmed with guilt from the deaths of his family, and then his last dying wish is to take down the Foot Clan.
Yeah, and it's like a weird samurai irradiated, like sort of post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's quite. I did really enjoy it as a comic book.
it was very emotional.
It was. Did you enjoy it?
I did really like it. I also really enjoyed before we get into the actual book,
Mm-hmm.
um, for me at least, I don't know if you have it, but there's a bunch of art in the back of my
In the
book.
back, yeah, I've got that.
Um, and my favorite of what I think it's used for a lot of the alternate covers is the one at the very end.
The Ben Bishop
Excuse
one.
me. Yeah, the Ben Bishop one, where
I know
it's
someone called Ben Bishop,
crazy.
but that is a sick picture.
Yeah, I really like that, and I've seen that before.
Yeah,
Um, but this cover's good too, which is for our listeners is Ronin in his whole getup. I love the way Mikey looks in this book. He
I
looks
think overall the art is great. Like there are
yeah,
like because when we go back to all the um turtles dying, like their deaths in the flashbacks, which we're going to talk about, you'll get like a one nice big 1 page spread of just some really sick art of
yeah,
like their weapon or something like that, just in chaos. And I really enjoy that. And what I like about Michelangelo's design, which is something that is talked about quite a bit within the book itself, is just how huge he is.
yeah.
And like he's not a teenage mutant ninja turtle anymore.
I know he's just a mutant ninja turtle.
Yeah, because he is a big boy and it just looks really sick. And he like, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know how to get into it without talking specifics when we go through it. So we might as well start.
Might as well start, but oh yeah, we will start. So this is a 5 issue or a 5 part comic book mini series, I guess you would call it. So we'll start with issue 1 and we'll go through the plots of each of them. Um, so issue 1 is really interesting. We've kind of spoilt the ending of it already, but issue one, you don't know who the last Ronin is. And like, I was reading about it when this comic book was announced. They didn't say who the last surviving Ninja Turtle was. They were like, "Oh, one of them's left," and everyone was like, "It's gonna be Leo, or no, it's gonna be Raph or whatever."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know. I didn't. I never put that together because I knew going into this that Mikey
yeah,
was the last Ronin. So
yeah,
I didn't even realize that that was the reveal.
yeah. Because
And
there's the bit at the end when we'll get to it when he's in the bed and April's like, "Oh, it's great to see you, Michelangelo," and you're like, "Whoa!" And that's how where the issue ends.
huh,
But
okay,
anyway,
continue.
the last surviving Ninja Turtle approaches the walled city of New York. He breaks in, fights guards and securities to make his way to the tower and kill the leader of the Foot. I actually wrote the hand here, which is quite funny.
That is
The
very funny.
the entire approach, his brothers talk to him and guide him. He fights to the top of the tower, but the leader of the Foot isn't there, and he barely escapes with his life, falling unconscious. He wakes up in front of April and is revealed that the final Ninja Turtle is Michelangelo.
I like. I think Michelangelo being the last surviving turtle is the most interesting way to do it.
I think turning him into like this hardened, emotionless killer is the most interesting one to turn into that.
Because like Raphael, it was always destined to be the first one to die, realistically speaking.
Yeah. And like Raphael would have also been the least interesting as this guy because this guy is kind of like this is very like if you just read this comic and you were like, who is this Ninja Turtle acting the most like, you'd be like Raphael.
Right. I think uh, this is more like of a mature Raphael, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But like it's definitely more Raphael than Mike.
and Donatello wouldn't make sense in my opinion. Like Donatello, I don't know. I feel like he would take a different. I don't know. I love Donnie,
Yeah. And then,
and
you know,
Leonardo
Leonardo
would be boring.
Yeah.
But like, I think my one issue with this, which kind of makes sense, and I could see an argument being made towards it, is that like Michelangelo is the quippy one,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really make any quips, which makes sense because he's like hardened. But there was not really any points of like where he was relaxing with April and then he makes a quip, which like is a very small gripe that I'm not really passionate about complaining about. But
Yeah, to me it does make sense when like you get the whole story of what's happening here. But issue one maybe goes on for a bit too long, I think, without like a plot, if you get what I mean.
yeah, it's the exposition
It's not really
story.
it's not even exposition though. It's just him on his way to a tower and talking to himself. And like it's good, but it's not as strong as when stuff actually starts happening.
Do we get him talking to his brothers?
Yes. Yeah, he's talking to his brothers all the way through, and then there's like a point near the start where you're like, wait, are they dead? And then it gets on a bit, you're like, oh, they're definitely dead, you know?
Yeah. It's that's I think one of my favorite parts about this entire story because you could look at it at one side of him being like literally insane,
Mm.
or you can look at it more symbolic and him just trying to grapple with his grief. And I think I don't know, it's done really well because also when you see it, it gives like the reader like I don't want the turtles to be dead. So like for a minute there, I'm like, maybe they're not dead. And then like you're constantly reminded that they are.
Yeah,
So
I do think it's like a slightly underutilized thing.
yeah, but it does have a pretty good send off at the end though.
Uh, yeah,
I liked it.
I'm not sure how much I agree with that. Like, I see what they're going for with that, but we'll get to that. Um, anything else to say about issue one?
No.
You get good stuff from the guy who's in charge of the foot.
Yeah, and also for our visual listeners here, um, Mikey's just jacked. Like he is straight up yoked.
It is, the design is cool, and I do like the bit of, I do like how he's got like a part of a weapon from every Ninja Turtle.
Yeah,
Also showing you like you don't know which Ninja Turtle it is.
right. And it's insane that like Mikey almost ends himself. Like you know what I mean? Like he almost mm, throws in the towel early, but then he stopped.
Yeah.
Very dark for a silly comic. Okay. Chapter two,
Yeah, part two, chapter two, issue two, whatever it's called.
whatever.
We see a flashback of April and Casey now engaged, waiting for the Ninja Turtles to get to their apartment. Instead, they arrive bloodied and with a dying Splinter, who is quickly about to die. Outraged, Raphael goes and attacks the leader of the Foot and is quickly killed just before pushing the leader of the Foot into a lifelong coma. Meanwhile, in the present day slash future, Michelangelo awakes and talks to April, who has two prosthetic limbs. He also meets April's daughter, Casey, who is a part of the resistance. After the death of his brothers, it's revealed that Mike walked into nature, sat down in the snowy mountains in Asia and Europe, and waited to die, but didn't. He eventually taught himself all forms of martial arts through his father's book and returned to New York to exact revenge.
I think one standout bit of this is the flashback art that we get to when Mikey goes into the forest and tries to lay
Yeah,
down for his final rest.
it's interesting you say that because I was thinking there's like three forms of art in this book. It's the it's the art style of the flashbacks before every after everyone dies, so like when he goes into the woods, and then there's the art style of the flashbacks, and then there's the art style of the modern day.
Yeah.
And I think it does work really well when you can just look at a page and be like, oh, that's cool, that's, you know, this time period. And I think that really works. The bit I think my highlight of this part is just um Raphael just absolutely murdering like 40 people.
Yeah, he really does go all out. And I mean, it's sad that he doesn't make it through, but like, you know, he accomplishes his goal. He takes down the leader.
He does, it's true. And like I yeah, and it's like in character, I think.
Yeah.
What I do want to say about this comic book as a whole is that I really like how it just does not hold back on the blood and the guts and the
Yeah, it is a very it's not your typical PG-13 comic book. But also I think these flashbacks, the gray and
yeah,
black and white ones, I believe those are drawn by the writer,
that's cool.
Kevin Eastman, because it looks like his art style.
It's cool. Do you know what something I slightly don't prefer about this story?
What?
This is personal preference, 100%, so it's not an actual complaint. So there's the two guys that invented Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as you know, and
Uh-huh.
one of them, I don't know if you know this, one of them much preferred to make stories about ninjas, and one of them much preferred to make stories about mutants. So one of them would always be making all the mutant stuff with all the other mutants, and then one of them would be making all the ninja stuff with all the foot and stuff like that. And this is very ninja heavy, and I would have liked some more mutant stuff. I get why there isn't.
Yeah,
It,
we do get some good mutants. I like here, hold on. Give me one moment. I have to go blow my nose. I don't have my Kleenex box next to me.
lol.
Um,
Anyway, now you've blown your nose. What were you saying about mutants?
so they established some lore in this comic book that I didn't really know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if it was established before. Because this comic is relatively new, 2018, I believe it came out.
Yeah.
That as the turtles age, their mutant genetics evolve.
Yeah.
So Mikey's much larger than the turtles were before. He's much stronger. He can heal a lot
Yeah.
faster.
And that's why he's so big, which I love.
Yeah. Um. So that's a cool like it's. I agree with you were saying there's a lot more ninja than mutant, but there isn't. It isn't like pushed aside. There's. It's clear that like
Yeah. What I mean is like other mutants, but obviously they've all been killed, which is why they're not there, you know.
right. Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
like
Yeah.
there's not even like, oh no, that guy was killed, you know. They don't even mentioned at all.
Um. Any other thoughts, opinions about the story?
Not this issue. Do you want to move on to number 3?
Um. One thing that I want to make point out is so Mikey has a conversation with his dead brothers like in his mind,
Yeah.
and I find it interesting how uh, it's like how quickly it switches from like comedic jabs to like extremely dark.
Hmm.
I don't know. I like it. Let's
Yeah,
continue.
it's cool. Okay. We see a flashback of Mikey, Leo, and Casey being attacked by robots after the Foot break the truce and attack Fugitoid. Mike gets to safety, saving people, but Leo and Casey are killed. In the present day, we see parts of Fugitoid have been recovered. Also, the leader of the Foot does some real melodramatic stuff on a rooftop. April's plan to stop Baxter is to stop Baxter Stockman and shut down all the tech before attacking the leader of the Foot.
Um, I find the whole um antagonist storyline to be very boring
Yeah, I like.
personally.
He works as an antagonist.
Even like his suit at the end, it just didn't feel that striking.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think he works fine. I like the stuff where they're like this guy won just because compared to Shredder and compared to all these other samurai, he just has literally no honor,
Yeah,
and I think that works. And I think Tim just kill it. We'll get yeah, him just killing his mum at the end. I think is works.
yeah, that was cool when that happened. Obviously not like cool, but you know what
But
I mean.
yeah, he's not super interesting, but I don't think he's bad. You know.
Yeah, no, he's not bad, but it's just like I would equate it like a Marvel villain. Like I
Yeah.
don't think Marvel has a lot of bad villains, but they don't have a lot of good ones either.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm. So when we talk about comic books in the future, can I make a suggestion for a little category we chuck into our conversation?
Sure.
Best panel. So
Ooh, I
I'm
like
not
that.
sure if we this should be decided on just by the art or by the contents of the panel, but I have a contender for this comic book.
What's your contender?
I'll show it to you. Um, I'm sure you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. It's it's twisting. It's the Leo and Casey death panel
Oh, that one is pretty good.
where you have Leo's sword and Casey's mask in the explosion rubble. If you have anything better, you can bring it up now or bring it up later. But
Okay.
that just for a bit of fun, that we can talk about that as well. Uh, I like. I don't know. This, it's a bit of a this. I feel like this is quite an exposition issue because all it is the flashback to what's happened to Leo and Casey, and then here's our plan for the next 2 issues, and that's pretty much it. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
And we get a lot of stuff with Casey,
That's true. We get stuff with
both
Casey
of them.
Junior. That's true. Yeah, who's I can imagine. I don't know this as a fact, but she just seems like the exact type of character that would have been absolutely hated when this came out.
Yeah, but I don't hate her.
I no, I don't hate her at all. I just mean because she's a woman and she's a legacy
Uh,
character, and she's like taking the
yeah,
place of a male that people like. I just feel like she wouldn't have been liked, and I think she's good.
yeah. I think um there's something we'll get into it, but there's a secret with Casey, and I think that was a really cool way they
Yeah, I think it's cool.
made her more likable.
Do you want to just jump forward to issue 4?
Sure, let's go for it.
Go for it.
Ah, ah.
Mike agrees to be Casey's sensei. Mike tells April about when he got to Japan after the attacks. He discovered that Donnie and Splinter died at the peace talks. This is when Mike went into the mountains. It's revealed that Casey has mutant DNA because her parents were exposed to the turtles for so long, and the assault goes to plan. Honeycutt boots up and kills Baxter, taking control of the tech and shutting it all down.
That so there's a lot of stuff here that
Yes.
happened. So first of all, alluding to what I alluded to 30 seconds ago, um, the fact that Casey is also like slightly a mutant
Yeah.
is really cool. This is just like I said, wouldn't make sense, but I think it would have been like a little bit interesting if like she started showing some like
Mutantish.
visual
Yeah.
physical traits,
Do you mean say mutantish?
mutantish traits.
No, just mutant.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry, mutantish.
I like in this episode her little fight with Michelangelo.
Yeah,
I think that's
because
pretty Michelangelo, despite what you were saying earlier on.
yeah, like maybe a yellow belt moment. I think
Yeah.
it's um. How do you feel about the death of Splinter and Donatello?
Can I be completely honest with you here?
No,
I had been a bit of a dum dum. And you know when Splinter is very badly injured and they're like, oh, this guy's basically dead at the start.
you thought he died.
I thought he had died then. And then I was reading it, and then I got to the bit where Leo and Casey died, and Splinter shows up at the start there, and I was like, oh, this must have happened. He's gone out of focus again. He thought I thought this must have happened earlier on, and then he died again, and I was like, wait, what? This guy's died twice, but he didn't.
I mean, it's kind of tricky because like Leonardo and Raphael don't really have an on-screen death confirmation, so you kind of just assume
Yeah,
that Splinter died too. But like considering they never had like a dramatic moment of Splinter dying, I was just like, maybe he's still alive, and then it kind of confirmed it
yeah, I
with
get
that
that.
moment. So like Splinter is kind of this altruistic, is that the right word?
Yeah,
Like he knows everything. He's like so professional. He's like a perfect sensei to the turtles. So when Splinter when he was being attacked by the Foot Clan was kind of like kill them all. They're all like you should kill them all, and was like denying it when people were saying like Splinter, no, fall back. I thought that was a very interesting point for the character because if his children hadn't died, he probably would have pulled back
yeah.
and been more logical about it, but he wasn't, and that kind of not only led to him failing, but also the death of Donatello.
I
Even Donnie was telling him, "No, stop."
yeah. I think this was kind of the cheapest of the deaths we saw, because just because the whole thing basically, if you haven't read it, is like they the guy who's the daughter of sorry, the son, and who's the new leader of the Foot, is like, hey, I've had enough of all this violence, let's call a truce. And they're like, okay, let's go and meet and call this truce. And that's why Splinter and Donnie go, is so they can have this meeting and call the truce. And they show up, and then within about 10 seconds, and they're standing there for a bit, and the guy in charge of their clan is like, oh yeah, but there's literally zero signs of any double crossing. This is just a genuine truce. And then within 30 seconds of people showing up, they're like, haha, this was a trap all along. And like it's kind of just a non-twist because it's not like,
Yeah,
oh, we managed to keep the secret from you for so long because of this thing. Or it's just, oh no, we were just lying and we're gonna kill you now. And it's just as easy as that. And I think that is a little weak.
it is weak. Um, th- there's probably a better way they could have done that.
Yeah, but then again, it does kind of tie into the thing I like about the villain is that like he's honorless.
Yeah,
But like if they were going that way, they should have led into it a bit more. I think.
I agree.
Do you know what my biggest complaint with this comic is?
What?
That I don't think it's long enough.
It is pretty. I mean, to be fair, it was a mini series.
Yeah, no, 100%, and I get that, but there's just so many ideas and like little things like that sort of thing in here where I'm like, oh, we could have had more time with that. And when I say that so many times, I'm like, oh, maybe it should have just been longer.
Yeah, I think there is a bunch of interesting um things alluded to, or we've gotten like little pieces of that I could honestly be like a comic in and of itself.
Yeah,
Um,
but alas, no.
but alas,
So anyway, are you ready to move on to the final part slash issue slash whatever?
yes.
Oh no, actually, I just want to say the art style for the truce is actually really sick because it goes because it's not a flashback per se. It's like the leader of their clan telling a story. So it's a slightly different, like it's colored differently, I think.
Yeah,
And it does look really good.
it all looks really good. A
It all
very
does.
well,
And it all looks different, which I really appreciate, you know?
yeah. I think
So
Mikey's
yeah.
just like journey, like through the flashbacks and through the mountains, is really interesting,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
paints a nice picture. And it like, given how like moody the black and white style is, um, it stops it from, because we've known Mikey as like this super outlandish comical character. It kind of makes it less jarring knowing what
Yeah.
that story is. Okay,
I have
but
two things
continue. Chapter 5
I have two things to say on the design.
of what?
The turtles. Number one, it always makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable when the turtles don't have their masks on.
Me too.
It like doesn't look right, you know, that like the head shape. And I thought that at the end of Mutant Mayhem as well. Like I think anytime I see a turtle without their mask on, I'm a bit like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah, I agree.
Number two, the black mask is absolutely sick.
The Black Mask is so cool.
It's so good. And it like the I'm sure the only reason they put the black mask in is so that you didn't know which turtle it was.
Right, but
But
like it doesn't matter.
and
It's so
like all
cool.
the and him using all the weapons is sick. I think I've already said that. Anyway, the final part, Mikey has a convo with his brothers and like gets them out of his mind and kicks them out, and then he attacks the foot tower alone. And he goes through. He attacks all the foot soldiers because all the robots have been disabled, and then he gets into a fight with their leader. Casey is on their way to save Mike and help in the fight, but the sewers are flooding. So instead, she goes back and saves April. Um, After a long battle, Mike kills their leader and dies in the process. We see him in the afterlife with his brothers, father, and Casey. And also, April is making Mutant Ninja Baby Turtles.
All right. So starting at the beginning.
Sorry. It would be Baby Mutant Ninja Turtles, not
There
Mutant
you go.
Ninja Baby Turtles.
Um, his kind of final last hurrah with his brothers.
Yeah.
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was very climactic, and I liked how he at that moment he also closed the book on that literally.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that he wrote something in the book right when he closed it.
Wait, what?
Because, well, at the end, he writes no peace in the book. Did you catch that?
Yo. Oh, oh, because I remember reading and the most important lesson of all, and then he just died, and I was like, oh, okay. But the most important lesson of all is not no peace, it's no peace.
So
That's it.
initially, so the entire book, like while Mikey was away, he had his Master Splinter's book, and it taught him everything about martial arts. And at the very end, it said "no," as in like no peace.
Yeah,
So like never feel at peace against the foot because they will always come back. I think that was kind of the idea, right?
yeah, yeah.
And at the very end, once Mikey's had this full circle moment, he takes out the book and writes a K in front of the N and a W at after the O. So it says
No, it says
no peace,
canal
like
peace,
yeah, canal peace. Um,
which is
I
just
it took me a while to figure that out too. But at this moment, he does like I won't be able to see it, but he writes something in there and then closes it.
yeah. Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that adds, that makes me like this even more. I really do like the bit where he goes and hangs up with his brothers in like the afterlife or wherever he is, and it's just like
Yeah,
the
that
classic,
was a very cute moment.
and it's just the
Um,
classic art, and they're just little turtles.
Making quips
Yeah,
too.
it's only when you see that that you notice how huge he is.
Yeah.
We keep talking about how huge he is, but he's huge.
Um, Casey's suit, I think is cool.
Yeah,
The purple suit she has.
yeah, very Nightwing. I kept
Yeah,
thinking,
that's what I was thinking too. Um, so we see the suit, I believe, before she's revealed to be a mutant,
yeah, we do.
and I was very confused as to why she had a suit,
Yeah,
but it makes sense now.
she just sick like that. She just built different.
She's just built different.
How do you feel about the reveal at the end that they're just making four mutant turtles?
I like that. That was cute.
It's cute. I hope they don't do anything with it.
I can't imagine they will. I
I
feel
mean,
like
yeah.
this is a total one-off sort of a thing.
But like I wanted to talk about this more in a second. This is becoming a video game.
Yes.
And if the video game does man numbers, then they'll be like, write another one. And they'll be like, oh, what can we write about? Oh, the new Ninja Turtles.
That's true.
Like
But
that
then you
would
kind of get into a little bit of like Spider-Man Unlimited territory
that's true.
where you're making a show or a comic about like technically connected to the original but has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
original.
April will be there and that's about it.
Yeah, April and yeah,
Unless you just bring back like an absolutely ginormous like Bebop and Rocksteady.
that'd be sick.
Because they would have to be huge.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a good comic book.
How do you feel about Shredder's design?
Shredder's the bad guy
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah, I like what like the thing I like most about Shredder is like how it's striking he is and like
Yeah,
he's this huge metal guy that like you're like, oh, that could take out a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And in this, it looks just more of like an alternate Spider-Man suit.
I think um you do need to make him look futuristic.
Yeah,
Like
but
I
I
get
agree with that, and I don't necessarily hate how he looks here either. Like
yeah.
that's for people who don't want to look it up on the internet right now. Um, but
It's like
it
it really reminds me of something and I can't think of what because it's like a nanotech like liquid metal suit type thing.
yeah, it's sort of like a Venom symbiote sort of a thing.
Yeah, like it makes me think like I feel like it's really oh it'll come to me. It really does make me think of something.
Do you ever read Darkhawk?
No.
There's a comic book character that kind of looks like this too, at
Yeah, I
least the
didn't.
face shape.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um, how do you feel about Mikey's death?
it's I don't think it's Mikey's death I have an issue with. I think it's Shredder's, and
Yeah,
I think they kind of didn't get the balance right of like him. I think a fight that ends with both of them dying is always a bit of is a very tricky thing to pull off.
yeah. And like
Yeah,
he kind of so Shredder gets electrocuted out of nowhere, right?
yeah,
Well, yeah, I don't really understand what's going on with his suit because I think he like tries to electrocute Mikey to
I
death.
I think it's like Iron Man's armor where like he keeps like you don't have like an endless supply of nanotech. You like are using a finite supply every time it's destroyed.
Oh, okay. And
Would
then like
Yeah,
he's out of it and he tries to get more and then just like
yeah,
electrocutes himself.
I don't know
Is
something.
that the idea?
Like I think Mikey's death works. I think it's more Shredder's that doesn't, and I think you kind of do have to kill Mikey off.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's a good death. And like you mentioned before, him reuniting with his brothers is very cute as well.
Yeah.
And Casey and Splinter.
So about this video game.
About this video game,
Now you've read the comic, you like this video game's going to be sick.
I think it could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not. Obviously it's difficult to say this video game is going to be amazing when we've seen literally nothing of it.
I don't know what it's gonna look like.
Mm-hmm.
I might be partial to this just because I enjoy games like this, but I hope it's in an Arkham like style.
Yeah,
We can go around jumping on buildings in like this super futuristic.
yeah. I was going to say, so do you want it like an open world New York City type thing?
Yeah, or open world New York City thing would be cool, or like at least like semi open world.
Yeah. Do you know what would be really sick? I was thinking about like how the gameplay of a game like this would work, and I think like having like, for example, the D-pad, like have you switch between the turtles' weapons,
That would be cool.
and like each of them, like all the weapons use a little differently, and you go sword, bow staff, nunchucks, and you just switch between them. I think that'd be really sick.
That would be sick.
And like different weapons work on different enemies, and you could do like Arkham City thing, where like the Joker keeps popping up, but obviously instead of the Joker, it's the other turtles.
Yeah. I think this is the best Ninja Turtles comic to adapt into a video game
Yeah,
because there's enough drama here to make for a good enough, intriguing story. You don't have to make it like Avengers, where you need to have a bunch of different characters and try to balance them in different ways.
yeah. I think
Um,
like the violence works in a video game's favor.
yeah, for
I think
sure.
I think like the world setting works in a video game's favor. I think like obviously you would have to expand upon this comic book a lot. Like you're gonna have to add a lot more stuff.
Yeah, because this is not gonna like. I feel like
Yeah,
most small campaigns are like what 10 hours long.
minimum.
Yeah, like this is not a 10 hour book.
No, it took Harlan 10 hours to read it yesterday, but that's just because he's stupid.
It took me nine.
The 1 hour was making your dinner.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Um,
It took me in 60 minutes to microwave a bowl of soup.
oh, when we paused the recording, Harlan revealed he had soup for his dinner for everyone sitting on the edge of their seats.
I know. I
We
know
just
it was
lost
driving you
all.
guys
We
crazy.
just lost all our listeners now. They found that out. They've just switched off this episode.
Ah, shucks.
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be a sick video game.
Yeah, I'm gonna be buying that video game for sure.
Me too. Do you agree on the best panel?
I feel like considering I didn't, you know, go into this with one in mind, I'll say
Yeah.
yes.
I didn't go into this with one in mind either, for the record, to our dear listeners.
It is a really good one though. Yeah, it's a good one.
Like I think to me it would definitely have to be one of those full page spreads.
Yeah, I think
But
isn't that one of the ones in the back?
I don't think it is.
Because the Raphael's blade is.
Yeah, but it's slightly different to the Raphael blade we get in the actual
Oh
comic.
yeah, and so is the Leonardo and Casey one. This is the
Yeah.
one we have in the back.
And I didn't want to include the artwork from the back because I don't think that count. Well, it doesn't count, you know.
No, it does not count.
Anyways, we should talk about more comic books.
Yes, if you guys have any recommendations, let us know.
I'll
We're
put
open to
something on the
ideas.
Instagram and be like, "Hey, what should we read?"
Because I
Or
like comic books, but I just like don't have a vast majority enough to really
yeah,
get into it on the
yeah.
tiki
and
talkie.
and also, well, what I meant to say is I'll put something on the Instagram, and be like, "What comic book should Dean read and Harlan look at the pictures of?"
You know what? That's at least three-fourths of what reading comic books is about.
I think you're right. To be fair, free like I feel like 80% of me reading this was, wow, he's one big turtle, and that's just all I would think. That's just all I kept looking at. I was like, he's a big old thing.
That's a
It's like
big
it's like
old
watching a
thing.
Michael Bay film.
Mm. Turtles are huge, the Michael Bay movies.
I
You've
know.
never seen the Michael Bay movies.
I have not.
Well, screw them. Nobody watched them because they're awful.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll figure out what comic books we should read next, and then we'll probably start ranking them or something. I don't know.
Oh, you know what was something that I found super interesting?
What's that?
The antagonist
Mm-hmm.
is actually from a country in Europe.
No, but no, I really wanted to practice my Japanese accent for him.
Well, you should probably just practice um his country's accent. Just you don't want to offend him because then he'll kill you.
Mamma mia! I can't believe that you. Hey, hey, what's a Ninja Turtle's favorite food?
Pizza pie, mamma mia, pizza pie.
Good
That's
job,
a better one.
everyone. Good job. Do you know? I'm sorry. We are trying to wrap this up. Can I tell you what I do is a slight complaint I have about this.
What?
I don't like how little we know about what's going on outside of New York in this.
Yeah, that's true, but like it's so self-contained. Like I don't, that
Yeah,
never really crossed my mind.
yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. That was just my final thought. Good comic book. That's my final thought. Harlan, what's your final thought?
Adios.
I should have seen that coming. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.